shouldn't have to be here. Children shouldn't have to come out onto the streets to demand action for climate change and demand a future, but that's all we have to do. We're not politicians. This shouldn't be our responsibility, but because the people in the building around the corner refuse to do their jobs and take responsibility, we have to instead. We have to go out into the streets and shout for the biggest crisis we have ever seen to actually be treated like one. 2 months ago we came out here. What's happened since? We have the Climate Emergency Measures Bill and the Declaration of a Climate Emergency. Yet when we declared that emergency, only 6 of our 158 TDs were there. Climate change is going to affect every single one of us, yet over 150 of our own elected representatives cannot find it in them to attend a vote on solving it. Climate change needs to be a priority. It needs to be taken into account in every single decision we make. And we know this. Declaring an emergency is one thing. Acting on it is an entirely different thing. We're on the streets today, but in a few years we'll all be voting. And we will remember the politicians who said something, who did something, who took the steps, and we will remember the ones who stood back and did absolutely nothing to ensure we have a future. On a European level, we are not doing enough. The fact that Ireland ranks in the bottom 8 globally is inexcusable, and I ask you to find one TD in Dáil Éireann that can somehow defend that. The European targets aren't extreme enough. We need to reach what's called carbon neutrality by 2030, where all of our emissions are offset by things like trees and wind turbines. But if we don't start taking action, and if our politicians don't start standing up, then that will never happen. Something we hear all the time is that the political process is difficult, that we can't meet these targets, that it's too radical. We know the political process is difficult. We know putting strategies in place and meeting targets is difficult. But do you know what else is difficult? Living with climate change. Being part of the 500,000 people that climate change will kill globally by 2050 is going to be difficult. Sitting my kids down and explaining why half of the world's species are extinct, why we didn't take the steps to save our planet, why we could, will be difficult. And not to be radical, I think that's going to be a hell of a lot more difficult than taking political action while we can, than taking action while we're still in these 11 years while we have a chance. We have a problem with how we view climate change. We can't view it as some abstract long-term problem anymore because it is going to affect us. It is an immediate threat to every single one of us, no matter who you are and where you come from. It needs to be taken into account in every single decision we make as a country, yet our politicians are ignoring it. We need to address the roots of the issue. We can't focus on things like changing light bulbs, taking public transport, or changing your recycling bin anymore, because that is not the issue. The issue is the way our society is structured, the way we let industries pollute our environment like we've never seen before. Striking has made a difference, and it will continue to make that difference. We shouldn't have to come out here, but we do. Companies, policies and industries have been stealing our futures, and we are no longer letting them. We came out here 2 months ago. We've come out here today, and we will continue to come out every single week until something is done. We will come out here and we will shout at our own politicians elected to protect us until they take the steps to protect our futures. We will shout until we have that action, until we learn to prioritise our environment over our economy. This shouldn't be our job. We should be able to go to school, do normal teenager things, not go into the streets and shout so that we can live our lives safely. This should never have been our job, but we're doing it, and we will do it. And we will make that difference, and we will shout and continue to save our futures. So the governments around the world, the EU, the UN and RTDs better start listening. Thank you.